Hello, neighbor.
Hello, neighbor.
Do I have permission to film you and use the footage?
You have permission to film me and use the footage.
Thank you. And what is your name?
Marcus If.
And can you describe yourself in 5 words?
Tall, hairy, creative, anarchistic, and PITA.
Okay. And would you describe your living situation? Who do you live with? What's that whole thing like? Where do you live?
As you know, it says we have long lived in intentional communities. I live in an intentional community called Love Shovel Ranch at about 8,400 feet in the Colorado Rocky Mountains, about 6 miles from the Continental Divide. I live there with, how many? 5 guys and a woman at the moment. And that's where we live.
Okay. And how long have you been living there?
38 years.
And how has that area changed since you moved in?
Well, it was a small town with a ski area back in the 90s. It is now a tourist town with a ski area, and the locals can't afford to shop there.
Okay.
It's a small town that I live near.
Okay.
A town of only 7,000 people once upon a time.
Okay. Environmental changes?
Definitely. Was raking the lawns today. It's March, it's equinox, and I was raking the lawns about 6 weeks early.
Okay. What's your favorite thing about living there?
It ain't down here.
To you, what does a good life feel like or look like?
A good life is a life that you have control over. You run your show. For most of my life, I have been self-employed.
Okay.
So self-employment is nice. It means you can, schedule things around family, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
But it also means that you're on call 24/7, and it can be overwhelming sometimes. But I would much rather, for the most part, have control of my own business than work for somebody else's business.
Okay. What's the biggest challenge you're facing in your life?
Age. Teeth.
Teeth. What is your favorite vegetable?
Toss up. Hard to say. I have to say spinach.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting. How do you spend the majority of your time?
I can't say on camera. Let's see. How do I spend the organizing?
Okay.
Probably.
And what do you wish you had more time for?
What do I wish I had more time for? That's a good question. Riding, I guess. Riding a motorcycle.
Okay.
But that's more about weather, not time.
Okay. What do you believe will happen to you personally when you die?
I believe I will return to a piece of undifferentiated consciousness, no longer self-aware, but probably still containing the same groove.
Okay. What is something that you know more about than most people?
Poetry.
Okay. And what is something you've learned recently?
A new tabletop game.
Okay. And how did you learn that?
Pretty much like everything else. I went and looked it up and learned how to play.
On the internet, in a book?
In a book.
Okay. Okay. Do you have access to the health care that you want and need, and how not?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I am mostly retired and disabled, so I have the Colorado Health Plus, which doesn't give you enough for dental.
Okay.
But it'll generally take care of everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And when is the last time you read a whole book?
Last year.
And what was it?
What was the last one I read? I think it must have been Have Spacesuit Will Travel. maybe.
And who wrote that?
Robert Heinlein.
And would you recommend it?
I would recommend any Robert Heinlein all the time to everyone all the time.
Okay. Describe a good person.
A good person. A good person would be someone who has the consciousness and compassion to look out for other people, for the environment, and not just for themselves.
Okay.
That's not always, they don't always have the capability, but to have the desire and to be paying attention to how you affect the world and what you can do to make the world a better place. That is a good person.
Okay. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I don't eat breakfast.
Okay. So does that mean you don't have a favorite breakfast?
No, I do have a favorite breakfast, trout and eggs, scrambled.
Okay. How often do you have that?
Not very often anymore because they don't have the trout at the restaurant.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to cook breakfast. So that's one reason why I don't eat breakfast.
Not allowed?
Not allowed, according to my son. Yeah. This is what happens, you know.
A good life, you get to do, you're in control of your life?
Yeah, but I'm not in control of breakfast.
What do you love here on planet Earth? What makes you really happy you're alive?
The Earth herself.
Okay.
Like the whole of it, the whole planet, and how it is its thing.
Okay. If you got a checklist when you paid your taxes so that you could decide what your money paid for, your part of the money, what would your top 3 priorities be?
That's on the assumption that I would do something silly like pay taxes.
Okay. If you were paying, I mean,
if I was going to pay taxes, I would put money. It's a tough set of priorities. First and foremost, it would have to be education. Not all welfare about children, centered somewhat around education that leads into lifelong education. I think that continually learning things. I'm a teacher, so big surprise. This is what I have to say, but I think that especially for children, having the opportunity to learn multiple things in different ways. Someone was just showing me different ways of tying their shoes, and I was like, "That's so cool that you know that."
right?
How interesting! And that's cool to you. Cool. A lot of cool in there if you educate yourself, right? So education would be the first thing. The second thing, obviously, would have to be climate change and adapting to it because we're not going to fix it. And what can we do for the kids? And the third thing, probably, I would have to say, would be fusion energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We need to get away from nuclear fission, and we need to get away from coal. We need to, and solar and wind is good, but not good enough. We need fusion, and we need it now.
Can you explain to me what is fusion energy?
So fusion energy is clean nuclear power. Once you get the fusion reactor started, it's pretty much unlimited free energy. So we could eliminate many of our economic problems in the world if we had free energy.
Right.
And if you know, cars could run on whatever way they store the energy from a fusion power plant, end of pollution from emissions. There's just so much that fusion would fix the world economically. There would be no more poor people.
Explain to me actually what is the thing how is it making the energy?
So it's cold fusion instead of splitting the atom, which is nuclear fission.
Okay.
Which creates a whole lot of waste and radioactivity.
Right.
Nuclear fusion is taking the two atoms and fusing them together into it's like a super helium.
What 2 atoms?
I think it's 2 hydrogens getting fused into a super helium.
Okay.
Because it has extra something, extra ion, extra electrons or something. And then when that happens, it becomes a self-sustaining energy source.
Okay.
Now it takes a tremendous amount of energy to get it started.
Can we do this already? Is this a real thing?
Yes, this is a real thing. This is not
science fiction. Okay.
No. There are operating fusion reactors in several places around the world.
Okay.
They're pretty close, within a few years of having a commercially viable fusion reactor.
Okay. What's the downside?
No downside.
Oh.
Yeah, not like nuclear fission where things can blow up, where you have radioactive waste. Pretty much no downside, except it takes a tremendous amount of energy to get it started.
Okay.
Once it's started, the reason we don't have fusion now is because it takes a lot of energy to get it started. And so far we've only been able to produce enough energy to keep it going.
Okay.
We haven't been able to get a surplus.
Right.
Because it's just a lot of, I mean, think the CERN reactor, the CERN accelerator.
Right. Yeah.
It's that level of fiddling with things.
Okay.
And it takes a while to figure out exactly how to make it happen.
Okay.
But they have done it. I think maybe about 8 years ago,
Okay.
they got the first fusion reactor going. And they say they're working on this commercial one.
Okay. What 3 things would you not want your taxes to pay for?
Top of the line would be war.
Okay.
But by that, I don't mean defense. I mean war.
Mm-hmm.
Because defense is necessary for the variety of reasons that government is necessary. If you can't defend yourself, your neighbor will decide he can take your stuff. So unfortunately, that is just the way of the game. But actually going to war and using your defense, that I would not want to pay for. After war, I would say censorship.
Okay.
I would not pay for censorship of any kind in any way.
Okay.
In fact, I would have my taxes go towards anti-censorship programs. That's not to say that all material is appropriate for all ages, but leave it to the person to figure it out. If this program is just for kids, put a label on it, and if the adults still want to watch it, they can watch it. Third thing I wouldn't want to pay for. I don't know. Guess a third thing doesn't come to mind. The stifling of humanity.
Okay.
That's what I wouldn't want to pay for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How many living beings are you responsible for keeping alive?
Directly, me and 9 female plants.
Okay.
Indirectly, a community, poetry, alive and sane. Those are maybe 2 different things.
Okay. Do you feel well represented by your politicians? And I'm talking like locally up to nationally.
Unfortunately, no, because I'm an anarchist and I don't buy into commercial politics.
So then I'm curious about the next question. What kind of person would you be excited to vote for? Because you just a minute ago said there are levels where government is necessary. Correct.
But it's possible, without getting into an hour-long discussion about anarchist theory, I think there's other ways that we could do representative government other than a 2-party system that is corrupt and bought out by the highest bidder.
Right.
Which obviously doesn't work for anyone except the highest bidder.
Yeah.
So, and I don't see that as being very different in a democracy or a republic or an autocracy. The problem is that politicians are not held accountable in the way that they would be in an anarchist situation.
Okay.
Because in an anarchist situation, there's no impeachment process. Mm-hmm. You're done.
Right.
You're voted out, bang, by the people who put you there. And because anarchy works on small cells becoming larger organizations, it only takes 5 people to get rid of somebody that they elected to represent them.
Okay.
You're not our message anymore. You're done. Now we're electing George instead.
Okay. What if that person doesn't want to leave?
Oh, well, that's tough shit.
Okay.
Sorry, kiddies.
Is there something in your heart that you really want to do, that you want to accomplish, that you know, in your life that feels hard to impossible?
Yeah.
And what is that?
Oh. Giving modern poetry new options.
Okay.
I think modern poetry has degraded itself into academia and spoken word, and both sides have lost any vibrancy.
Okay.
And I think there's other places that poetry can go. Some of the things that I teach,
Okay.
and because I'm an unknown, there's the likelihood that anyone will ever hear what I have to say.
Yep.
Is pretty small. But I do see the effect of what I teach in the younger poets around. I suppose it's worth mentioning I've been running the Beyond Academia Free School since 2012 as a anarchist literary collective, where we do peer-to-peer education, which I think is important. And it works, but it only works on the small scale. I wish that, I don't want to be famous, but I wish that some of the ideas that I've discovered would become famous, and then you can attribute them to me after I'm dead.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And the roadblock is just the roadblock.
Access.
Okay.
Access. There's no access.
Access to
the masses for artists.
I mean, we do have the internet now.
Yes, but no one pays attention to you.
Okay. What's the biggest challenge you feel like we're facing as a country?
Our own government.
Okay.
Yeah, the divide and conquer tactics of both the Republican and Democratic Party.
Okay. And if you could ask everyone in the country one question, what would it be?
What's for dinner?
All right. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay. I forgot. If you're watching this right now, we would love to hear your answers to that question in the comments.
Yeah, invite me over. I'll bring dirty